Okay, we are going to use Space Engine, and I'm going to show you how you can get up to speed quickly enough. So I'm going to describe what I'm doing. Right now I have just in camera mode, and I'm using this mode here, which is basically a start and stop. You can, move your camera around in this mode and just, like kind of start and stop like relatively quickly. So right now I am going to just zoom around a bit in this camera mode, and we'll just take a quick look around. So right now what I'm doing is I'm pressing the W button, and I've rolled my scroller in on my mouse forward, and that makes me go faster, and you can see that velocity up there at the top. And then when I scroll down on my scroll wheel, then it slows me down. Okay, so now I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to turn my view around, and so I can see that I'm looking at stars and so on. Okay, so right now I'm in the middle of space, and I'm slowing my velocity down for my camera. Now, remember, this is just a camera view, and so it's not as if you have a ship at this point. In fact, I don't have a ship. Okay, but I'm in the middle of space. I have no idea where I am. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to press Shift 8, and you'll see that makes the target the Milky Way galaxy. And then I'm going to press Shift H again, and that's going to make the target the sun. And one more time, Shift H again, and that makes the Earth. Now what I can do is I can click on this button to go to the Earth, and wherever I am in the entire universe, I will quickly show up at the Earth, and I can click this button to land on the Earth. And now I'm sitting on someplace on the Earth. Okay, so now what I can do is I can go ahead and make a ship. So I'm going to build a ship, and it's the Skylone. It's right there. It just got built. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take control of the ship. Okay, now notice that on the bottom here I did not see a bar come up. I want to see a bar. So I'm going to click take control again. And now I get this control bar for the ship. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly the ship. So one thing I can do is these are my jet controls. So when I turn these on and I turn this up, I'm now going up. And I'm going off the planet. Okay, so now I'm up in the air. Now I can put on my main engines, and I am just going to fly out into space, presumably, hopefully. Okay. Now, if I want to see where I'm going more quickly, I can accelerate time, and that will send me out into space a little bit faster. Now, if I want to maneuver the ship, then there are keypad controls that I can use to maneuver the ship. Now, they're a little bit tricky, and I'm moving fast in time right now, so I'm going to slow down time again to normal. So I clicked it one more time, and you can see up here the time. Okay, so right now I'm doing 0.1. Okay, if I click it twice, now it's 0.3, and now if I click it again, okay, now I'm at basically 1-to-1 time. So this is like normal time. Now, the kind of W looking thing in the front is where my ship is facing. If I click on my 4 key on my number pad, then I will turn my ship to the left. If I click on my 5 key, I will click my ship. I will turn my ship to the right. If I just want to make a lateral movement, like I just want to shift over to the right, then I can press the D key on my keyboard, and that will kind of move my ship to the left. You can't really tell at this point that it's doing that, but because, you know, the scale is so small for that kind of maneuver out here in space. But anyway, so the keys are W to go forward, A to shift to the left, D to shift to the right, or vice versa, I forget, S to go backwards, and then to maneuver the ship, you can use the keypad and do things like rotate the ship. So 7 and 9 rotate the ship, so one way or the other way. After a while, if you experiment with it, you'll get the idea pretty quickly. Okay, so right now we're up in space, and the next thing we want to do is we want to go to the moon. Okay, so what we can do is we need to, right now up here you can see the target is the Earth, but we want to change the target to the moon. So what we're going to do is we're going to click target, and now it says, ooh, select a target, select a target. If I had the moon right in my viewpoint, I could probably click it with my mouse, but we don't need to do that. I can click this magnifying glass and go find the moon by spelling it out. So I could say, okay, I want to get to the moon, and there's the moon, Earth, moon, fine, and I click OK. And what that does is that makes the target the moon. Okay, so that's good. So now I have a target, and the target is the moon. So if I look down here on my controls, I can see that I have a bunch of controls here, and I could just click on this one to rotate my ship towards the target. And you can see the moon up there, and now I've rotated my ship towards the target. And if I do my blasters, and I'm at 100% right now, then it's going to take quite some time to actually get to the moon. But that's okay, because I can increase time. So now it's 3 times, now it's 10 times, now it's 30 times, now it's 100 times. So I'm going through time 100 times faster than normal, and the moon is going to start coming up pretty quickly. Now the key here is that you want to slow down as soon as you start seeing that the moon is getting big on the screen. Like, even like, because you can easily wind up flying past it or into it, and you don't want to if you're moving through time too quickly. So at this point I can say, okay, the moon's getting pretty big, I'm going to slow down. Now I'm at 30 times. Okay, so it stopped getting big so fast. Okay, that's good. And now it's starting to get big pretty quick again because I'm getting closer. So now I'm going to slow down time again. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm going to slow down to 1-to-1 because I'm far enough away that I want to talk about a couple of things. So one, you can see this is actually the trajectory point of the ship. Okay, now if I want to look at this from the point of view of, if I don't make any changes right now, my ship is going to go in the direction that this little green icon is showing. I'm going to fly right past the moon. And the reason is because of physics, like the path that I chose to the moon, and the speed at which I was going, and the fact that there was Earth gravity that pulled me off to the right. So even though I was pointing straight at the moon, and I'm on maximum, main jets, it doesn't really matter, because the physics of the entire environment is actually saying, hey, well, in fact, you're going to pass the moon, and you're going to go off into space if you keep going in this direction without making any course changes. Okay, fine. So what I can do is I can make some course changes. But before I do, I just want to make a couple of points about how to look around. So now I can right-click on my mouse and then pull it around so I can kind of look around my ship. Now my ship is the center of my viewpoint at this point. And anytime I want my ship to become the center of the viewpoint, and it won't always be the center of the viewpoint, I can go to click on my camera down here, switch view, and that'll bring me back to this view. If I click it again, it'll put me in the cockpit. I don't like to be in the cockpit because I like to kind of see my ship, okay, and that puts me back there. So, and here's the view from behind, the cockpit view, and then the auto view. Okay, I usually go with auto view. And right now, my ship is pointing directly at the moon, but I can see that I'm not going to actually hit the moon. And I'm probably still at this speed, going at this speed through time, I'm probably still like a day away from the moon, even though it looks like it's so close. It probably is not that close. Okay, so anyway, so now I can look around and whatever. Okay, fine. And what I want to do is now I want to maneuver the ship to take it to the moon. Now, there are a couple of things. There's the easy way, or maybe not the easy way, and I'm not 100% sure I do actually understand this. But one thing I could do is I can click on this orbit button, and the orbit will work with the orbit of my target, which in this case is the moon. So if I say, okay, I'm going to go on autopilot, and here what this is this says sync the velocity with the target, okay? And here, this is autopilot, basically, auto flight assist. So I'm basically telling it, take me to the moon, and now I can click this, sync velocity once I get to the moon. And basically, it's, pretty straightforward. It'll just fly you, but I want to fly myself. And so I can see that, gosh, I'm like really going off the side at this point. So what I want to do is I'm going to start shifting my ship and turning it. So I want to turn it so that it will start putting the reticule on the moon. So now what I should be able to do at this point is change direction. Now sometimes space engine can be confusing. There's no doubt about it. And one of the confusing things is sometimes it seems like it's lost, it's kind of like lost. You don't have control over your ship. Part of the reason why is because, well, I had it on autopilot. I had this thing go to the moon selected. And for whatever reason, it didn't look like it was actually going to the moon. So what I'm doing now is I'm changing my direction in order to try to get the reticule to go onto the moon itself. So I know that it's down here somewhere, and so what I want to do is I'm going to just start pointing my ship a little bit further to the right and hope that I can bring the reticule up. And also I want to get my ship, so here we go, and there's the Earth way back there. Okay. Now, it's tricky. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This is tricky stuff because it's very kind of easy to, you're in space, it's free floating, and you press a button and, it keeps moving. Because you got to remember, you're not in a gravity environment. So now, okay, let's say I've lost the moon, and I'm like, okay, where the hell did the moon go? Which is, always going to be concerning, right? So I see, oh, okay, so the moon's up there, and my ship, what's happening is, my ship is just kind of like spinning around in space, because I told it to, and I don't have any control. So now what I can do is I can click on this button and go to autopilot, and what it's going to do is it's going to take over the trip at this point. I just wanted to show you a little bit about, maneuvering. Okay, but at this point, okay, let's let the ship do its autopilot. And I'm going to speed up time at this point. And hopefully what'll happen is, and let me get into the cockpit here. Okay, so now you can see that the moon is receding, which is not really what I would have expected. So what I did was I clicked on OK, center, and now I'm clicking on go to the moon. Okay, and I'm going to speed up time. So now we're at 100 times. Now we're at 300 times. And we can see, okay, yep, there comes the moon. It's getting there. Okay, and I'm slowing down real quick because I don't want to just slam, slam in. Yeah, I wouldn't slam into it because it's on autopilot. But still, I want to see what's going on here. Partially because I'd like to get a feel for, how does this work? Yeah, a lot of this is about just getting the idea. Okay, so here comes the moon. Now you can see the reticule is now finally actually heading directly towards the moon, which is what I want. And I'm going to speed up time a little bit again. Now the gray one is showing information that is relative to the Earth. So it kept a kind of connection to the Earth. Okay, and here we go. It's done a course correction. Let's try speeding up again. So now we're going 100 times. Now, in theory, I really shouldn't have... Okay, and now we're going to slow down, slow down. Okay, and now we're heading towards the moon. So what's going to happen is it's going to stop once it gets to a certain distance from the moon. And you can see that it's lowering its relative velocity. So you can see what it's doing is it's on autopilot, and it's saying, oh, I better slow down, better slow down. And so it's firing its retro rockets directly at the moon, so it will slow down enough, and it's a smart pilot, it's the autopilot, so that it just lands there. So now we are basically above the moon. So now what we can do is we can click on this, which is the sync velocity with the moon. Okay, and now we are synced with the velocity to the moon. So now what I can do is I can kind of maneuver around. I can, point my ship. And what I want to do is I want to point my ship, and I'm kind of looking around the moon now, because what I really want to do is I want to find the Aristarchus crater, if I can. Now, this is the light side of the moon, and I'm hoping that the crater will actually be on the light side of the moon somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point my ship in this direction. And I'm going to hit my main engines. And you can see the reticule now is saying, hey, if you keep going this direction, you're going to hit the moon at this spot. But I'm not, because, obviously as I continue to go, as I continue to thrust in this direction, the reticule goes off the surface of the moon. Okay, and now what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing a flyby. And I've pressed my right mouse click button, and there's no danger of me hitting the moon, but I want to look at the surface of the moon and see if I can spot the Aristarchus crater. And I kind of know what it looks like, having looked for this thing so many times and seen so many pictures of it. Okay, now at this point, I'm passing the moon, which I really don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the main engine, and I'm going to fire my retro rockets. Okay, and this is going to push the reticule, but at this point, I still want to look at the surface of the moon. Okay, now you got to remember, the moon has gravity. So as I kind of like put on my retro rockets here, and I slow myself down going past the moon, the gravity of the moon is going to start taking over. And that is what is causing that reticule to start moving towards the moon. And at some point, what's going to happen is I'm going to slow down enough relative to the moon. And in fact, I'm going to slow down relative enough to the moon that the reticule is going to wind up landing on the moon again, because gravitationally, I'm going to be now, pulled into the moon because I've slowed down my speed so much. And there's the reticule heading onto the moon again. So now I'm going to turn off my retro rockets. Okay. And now I can take a look at the moon. Now I need to change my direction again, so I'm going to turn my rocket. And it's, I'm in free space, so it's kind of tricky a little bit. And in fact, for this, I want to get back behind my ship and sort of see from my ship's point of view. Okay, so I'm in the cockpit, fine, whatever. Okay. Now what I want to do is, at this point, I'd be landing on the moon where the green dot is if I don't make any course corrections. But the green dot is not an attractive spot because that is not where the Aristarchus crater is. So I'm going to turn my ship a little bit, and I'm going to put on my main engines a little bit, because I kind of want to go around the side of the moon and see if I can spot the crater that I'm looking for. Now I'm using my right mouse button to kind of view the moon, and I see, okay, I'm not in any danger. In fact, I want to stay kind of above the moon though, so I'm going to turn my ship this way and then turn my view so that I can see outside the window. And I'm looking for the crater, Let's see, do I see it? Not so far. Okay, haven't spotted it yet. Alright, and now we're heading over to the dark side, which is really kind of a drag. So I don't really want to do that. So, and notice also, this whole time I was going at, like 10 times or whatever. I think it was 10 times speed. So, okay, fine. Looking around, but do I see the Aristarchus crater from here? In fact, I want to turn off my main jets, and now I'm going to put on my retro rockets again so I can kind of slow down. Alright, and let's see. Aristarchus! Where the heck are you? Ooh! Okay, that looks like it down there. It's got that distinctive kind of like shape. Two craters next to each other. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to get into my ship view, and now I'm going to turn my ship around. Okay. Okay, I'm using my 4 and 7 buttons to do this. So now I'm facing the moon. And really, though, I believe that it was on the southern, to my lower screen. Let's say that. I don't know north-south at this point. I have no idea. But I think it was down here. And there it is. That is Aristarchus. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to cut my engines while I think about how to get my reticule to where I want it. So I want to head over there. Now notice my hover engines are on a little bit. That's going to push my ship around. Okay, so now everything should be off. And now that gives me a little bit of time to think. Okay, so first thing is, where is my reticule? Where am I heading right now? So I spin around and I take a look. I want to see, okay, so I'm heading out into deep space if I don't make any changes. Fine. Okay, and I'm basically pointing. So what I'm going to do is go back to behind my ship. Okay, fine. And I'm going to hit my main engines. This is going to stop me from going in the direction I'm going, and after a little while, I'm going to see the reticule show up in front of my ship again. I'm going to increase time. So you can see I'm kind of... So in fact, I want to sort of point the ship up at this point. Oop, not down. Up. Up, up. Nope, not down. Up, up, up. Okay. So now I'm going to slow time it down again because I'm going too fast. Okay, I'm going to cut my engines. Cut my engines. So I'm going too slow. So if I can't cut my engines effectively, it means that in fact I've like lowered the time, so it's going below. So now I'm at 0.03. So now 0.3. So now I'm at 1. So you can see I'm going pretty fast actually. But there's Aristarchus over there, and that's what I want. So I'm going to hit my retro engines and slow down. In fact, I want to slow down quite a bit. What I don't want to do is pass this spot. Okay, now you can see that my main engine was on a little bit. I don't even want it on a little bit. Okay. Let's see where my reticule is. Okay, that's behind me, so it's in front of me someplace. No, that's behind me. Okay. So now you can see that I really kind of slowed down in comparison to the moon. So, okay, I'm gonna pretty much turn off my engines and try to get a look around and see where... Okay, there's my reticule over there. So it's pointing away from the moon. So what I really need to do at this point, let me go back into my cockpit here. Okay, and let me get behind my ship. Double check my orientation here. So there's the back reticule, and there's the front one. Okay. And what I need to do is I need to get that reticule onto the moon, obviously. So what I'm going to do, now I got to think about this, you know. So maybe the thing to do is, why don't I just point my ship at my target. Okay, so let me get behind my ship again. So to do that, I'm just going into the camera. Okay, there I am. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to point my ship directly at my target. So I'm using my 4 key on my number pad, and now I'm using my 8 key to move up. There's Aristarchus. Okay. And I'm going to aim my ship directly at it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my main engines and head straight for it. Shouldn't take too long for that reticule to show up and start looking like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna take you over here. Now it depends on how much trajectory, how much, speed I had built up heading in the wrong direction. Nothing about this is instantaneous. If I used a lot of thrust going in the wrong direction, I'm gonna need a lot of thrust to go back in the right direction. So, but I just want to aim at my target, and hopefully, if all goes well, I will see that reticule. Now what I can do is I could click on this little thing, which is show the ship trajectory, and this one is center my view on my ship. I can do either one. It doesn't really matter. If I show the you know, the orbit, you know, basically that's what it looks like. This is the ship trajectory. And if I center on the ship, then it brings me back to this view. And if I look around by using my right mouse button, so you can see the reticules are moving, and there's the reticule over there. And it's heading to the moon. In fact, it should, in theory, at some point, kind of show up in, you know, like in the direction I'm thrusting my ship. That's what should happen. Now I can encourage it by thrusting further above where I want to go, and, you know, due to the physics, the reticule should, you know, so you can see, oh look, it's heading in the direction I want it to go. If I want it to go a little bit faster, I can move above my target. And that will cause the reticule to, you know, I mean, you just got to think in terms of physics. I mean, what's the physics here? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase time a little bit. So now I'm going 3 times faster. And you can see, yeah, I'm definitely heading to the moon. And now what I want to do is I want to put on my hover jets and push my ship up. This is also going to help to push the reticule up. I'm going to rotate my ship a little bit. And now I'm going to slow down time again because I don't want to go too fast and then wind up crashing. Okay, so now at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm going too fast. So I'm going to cut my main engines. And I have my retro rockets on. And I've got my hovers on, and I'm going to reorient my ship. And now I'm going to turn my ship, and I'm going to point my ship in a direction that hopefully will cause the reticule to go up. So notice where I'm aiming the ship. In fact, to help, I'm going to rotate my ship so that my hover jets are pushing against the direction I'm going. Okay. And I'm going to put on my main jets again. So I built up too much momentum earlier. And so I'm not going to land on Aristarchus crater the way I wanted to. I'm going to obviously crash into the moon, which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. But fortunately, Space Engine is forgiving, and I can turn off my engines now. And what'll happen is, in fact, Space Engine will say, oh, you want to launch again. Now, I'm going to get rid of this. Well, I don't want to get rid of that. See how these are overlapping? That's a kind of thing where if you click on one, it overlaps. So you got to find a little gray area on the other one. Okay, so in any case, all right. So we've landed, but it's not a very good landing. But you get the idea. Okay, if I want to, I can kind of hover off the ship, off the surface of the planet at this point, and I can rotate my ship. Get it horizontal. Get it horizontal. Okay. Now I know the general direction of where I want to go. to look around using my right mouse click button. We know that Aristarchus crater is close by. So I'm kind of just using my mouse button to sort of look around. Now I'm getting pretty high up off the surface of the moon. And where is Aristarchus? Okay, I'm going to cut my engines at this point. And now let's take a leisurely look around. Oh, there. Okay, so that's it. Okay, fine. So what I can do at this point is, and notice how, you know, my engines haven't completely turned off. You kind of gotta futz with it. Okay, now they're completely off. So now I'm gonna go back to my cockpit, or see how close I am to what I want. Okay, and now I'm going to level off my ship's view by using the 7 key on my keypad to rotate the ship. And now I'm going to put on my main engine. And what this is doing is pushing me towards my target. Now, it pays to know where the reticule is, but I basically know where it is. It's above me because I'm currently heading up. Now, if I wanted to stop heading up, I could turn my ship over. Put the moon above me. And then use my hover rockets. A dangerous maneuver, no doubt. But this will stop me from going off into space. Woo yeah! Okay, turn them off. Rotate my ship back. So you get the idea? I mean, this is basically how it works. Now, you're going to learn a lot about spaceflight from this. Now, presumably I'm going a little bit forward. You know, but I don't see the reticule, so I want to find out where is it. So I'm going to look for it. Right now I kind of feel, okay, there's the rear one. The X is the one that's behind me. So that means that my reticule should be in the opposite direction. Okay, opposite. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what I can do is I can point my ship in that direction. Okay, let me go into the cockpit again. I don't want to be in the cockpit. I hate being in the cockpit because I can't really feel the orientation of the ship that way. Okay, there's the reticule. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to retro rocket. Retro, nope, not hover. Retro. And now the reticule is going to disappear and go behind me, which is what I want. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to turn my ship around again. Let's take a look. There's Aristarchus crater, so I can see it now. I am pointed directly to my target, pretty much. Now, just so that I don't sort of, feel, disoriented, I'm gonna rotate my ship so I can feel like, okay, the moon's below me, So I can kind of feel okay about that. So I'm using my rotate buttons. Okay. And now what I want to do is I'm going to aim my ship a little bit beyond the crater, and then I'm going to use a little bit of thrust and move the reticule to where I want it. And what I want is I want it to land on the other side of the Cobra head, that rill, that big, long, wormy-looking rill. Okay, and Silver Eye 1 landed right where the reticule is now. That's where it landed. Okay, so I'm going to aim my ship a little bit to the east of it. And there we go. That's what I want. Okay, I'm going to speed up time a little bit. Just live dangerously. Now, I'm going to stop time. Because at this point, I really need to slow this ship down, or we will definitely crash into the moon. Not that Space Engine will crash our ship. It won't. It'll land us. But still, you know. So I know that I'm building up a lot of thrust at this point. So, slow down. Okay, now we're going at normal time. So this gives us a sense of how quickly we're heading to the moon. Okay, so what I want to do is retro rockets to slow down. Because we really need to slow the hell down. Very important. Okay, but I don't want to move my... I want the reticule to stay where it was, so I'm going to push it by going on the other side of it and kind of keeping it there. So I'm sort of trying to steer the reticule. Okay, and then once I feel like, okay, it's sort of where I want it. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Nope, nope, okay. And why is that? Because of too much retro rocket. So, main engines. Okay, let's get the reticule back. Hope you're getting the feel for this, Charles. Okay. Okay. Now you gotta be careful. Don't go too fast. In fact, I even want to do a little retro here. Turn off the main engine. Now you can tell, you know, like here's the miles per second that I'm heading. So I'm slowing down, but I don't want to slow down too much. If I slow down too much, so I really need to gauge this so that by the time I land, I'm going at 0. That would be ideal. So I can see the distance of the target up here. It's 1746 kilometers. I'm going to keep my fingers on the retro rockets. You see? So I need some thrust here. A little more thrust. Okay. Looks good. Okay, I'm gonna slow down. Slow down. back. So I'm going to turn my ship a little bit. Now remember, I can maneuver laterally. Okay, and this is where you see the lateral movement. So I'm pressing the A key right now. That's pushing the reticule over. Now I'm going at 89, 90. I want a little bit of retro. My distance is 1739. Okay. I want to lower that speed. Okay, let's take a quick look. So I'm still, pretty far above the moon, but I've totally lost track. There's my reticule. Okay, and what's happening is I'm kind of just falling. I'm sort of free falling towards the moon at this point. So what's going to happen is the reticule will just show up and, kind of like wind up directly below the ground. Directly on the ground below me. Okay, and there we go. That was a landing. So now I'm going to go off of my ship view. Okay, and so to do that, I'm going to click on one of these controls. So this is center on my ship, and now I'm in camera mode. So now, I should be in camera mode. Well, maybe I'm not in camera mode. Maybe I need to, I clicked on this, click on that. Okay, now I think I'm in camera. Yep, okay. So now I'm in camera mode, and I can shoot out from my landing site. And there we are. So we landed pretty much exactly, pretty close. We wanted to land here, really. But we landed pretty close to the target area and probably pretty much right on top of the original Silver I-1 landing site, which isn't too bad. Okay, and there you have it. So that should give you some idea, Charles. I hope this helps. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of crazy. It takes a lot of getting used to, but as a primer, this ought to help. So anyway, I would be totally thrilled if you could manage to swing this for the game. Although, who knows? I don't know. We'll talk about it. But anyway, that's how you do it. So I hope this was helpful. All right, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.